action. This morning we're going to sit here and animate some basic actions and learn about keyframes. The very first thing you're going to want to do, we talked just a minute ago about frames per second. And again, watching students work on this for a while, people will get this messed up and it will cause problems. Right here, maximum time frame. How long is the video going to be? And multiply that by 30, seconds by 30 to get the frames. So if we were making a 10-second video, we would need...
You multiply 30 times 10, 300.
We'd need 300 frames. Okay? Now, down here, this is our timeline. We can control, truthfully, how much we're looking at the time. I can tighten that timeline down. I can spread that timeline out. It defaults, by the way, to 3-second clips, because if you ever go watch a movie, you'll very seldom see more than 3 seconds before we switch cameras or switch objects or do something. But we're going to go ahead and do it all inside a single movie just because we can. No, and because we're learning. And so we're going to do the bouncing balls. Yay. Okay. When we drop the sphere, it has properties. It has an X, a Y, a Z coordinate for its center axis. Its scale is set to 1 each, should be set to 1 each, except I'm actually, I'm sitting here hitting the trackball, and it has no rotation to it. That's 9 separate properties. The fast, easy way to begin, and then y'all are going to want to do this all the time, and I'm going to tell you not to, but it really gets you started, is to use a keyframe. When we record a keyframe, what we actually have done I have recorded a value for the X position XYZ, scale XYZ, and rotation XYZ. So I'm already making 9 timelines for this one object. So I'm going to move the time. I want it to take 1 second for it to go from here to there. Move the time, move the object, add a keyframe. If you do it wrong, if you move the object and then move the time, it jumps back. Because once we've locked that information into, at frame 30, these are the values, it's going to hold those values until we give it new values. So we have to move the time, move the object, and then keyframe it. Okay, and we can kind of see the motion path taking place. Move the time, move the object, keyframe, and move the time. Oops, nice job, Greg. 0, 0, 0. Apply and keyframe. So if I were to take it back and play, everybody go ooh ah.
Ooh, ah.
Now we see the big black dots.
Mm-hmm.
These are our keyframes. Those little dots in between are frames. I can come grab these and move them. Now I haven't changed time, so you'll notice when I bring things closer together, those dots get closer together, which means the movement's going to slow down in those areas. So now when I play it back, it's going to move slowly as I do that, and then it's going to speed up back to what we originally recorded. Okay? And we can pull these around and do all sorts of terrible, nasty things to them. But that's the crux of it. And just so you see what we've done, get used to looking at the timeline. I don't animate without seeing my timeline. We can see that over time it's changing its position on the z-axis, the y-axis, the x-axis. I didn't ever change the scale or the rotation, so I will have very flat lines there, but we still recorded the information. If I was never going to change its scale or rotation, I would at this point go in and grab those two and just delete them, because I have no reason to keep them on my timeline if I'm not going to change the scale or the position. Any questions?
Yeah, why, when you started this, you said you wouldn't want us to use this method. Why?
By the end of Thursday, you can be looking at the timeline almost exclusively. It helps, and I tweak it from time to time from a visual point of view, maybe to get a point of reference. But there's so much more. And if we start just move keyframe, it's not as precise as I want the ball to bounce up and down on the y-axis, right? So here's my sphere. And I'm only working with 90 frames here. Command, let's add a create property track. I'm just going to have it move up and down on the y-axis at the moment. It's going to start off at 200 on the y-axis. Maybe. Let's do that again. Command click. At frame 0, it should have a value of 200. Why is it? Can I not type this one? 200. Thank you. At 200, at frame 30, I'm going to have it have a value of 0. I'm just holding the control and dragging. That's how we duplicate things in this in Cinema 4D. So, yep. So up here, it's going to have a value of 100. Halfway through, it'll go back to 0. And at frame 90, it'll have a value back at 200. You'll notice I don't have any movement on the X, Y, or any movement on the X and the Z-axis. I don't have any rotation or scale. So why would I need to do that? And so if you think about, I'm bouncing this up and down. Now that I've got the up and down movement, now I can think about its forward movement or its sideways movement or its scaling properties. Okay, so as it's bouncing, and this was really going to be my next video, why don't I stop before I do that?